Rowan set out north on the morning of the next day, which was May 28th. He traveled lightly and dressed inconspicuously, wearing leather breeches and a woolen gray-green ranger jacket with a large hood. For weapons, he took a sea-axe, a razor-sharp short sword, beloved by the folk of the northeastern provinces, and a bow. He had a bag with various supplies and foodstuffs slung from his shoulder. Rowan walked along the steadily rising hills for 5 days, all the while staying within sight of evergreen forest, so he would keep to his northerly course. His dirty blond hair had grown long, as did his beard. Both swayed in the wind along. On the evening of the third day, he felled a mountain goat with his bow and ate very well. After he ate, he played his wooden flute by the fire and felt grateful that he was impelled to make this journey at a seasonable time of the year. As the days wore on, the air grew cooler and the trees smaller. It wasn't until the fifth day that he began to appreciate his woolen jacket. Rowan hiked with a sense of urgency, covering nearly 22 miles each day. By the eighth day, there was no green to be seen except the patches of grass between the rocks and boulders. When he finally reached the steep slopes, he found himself in a thick fog, so he used his navigation stone to find the sun and began his ascent straight up the mountain. That evening, he slept by a brook that cascaded down the mountain, and he was glad, for he remembered the brook well. During his last journey, he felled a large moose at that very spot. He awoke in the morning to find that the fog had grown even thicker, and the cold air chilled him through his jacket. He hiked briskly up the mountain, followed He hiked briskly up the mountain, following the brook northward, just as he had on his last journey. Soon he came to a flat area that he rightly guessed was the mountain ridge. By the 11th day of his journey, he had hiked close to 150 miles, and he was at a very high altitude. The air was thin and the sun bright. He felt cold and tired. The white caps of the mountains were now very close, and the frigid wind was unceasing. He sat on the ground with his back to a rock, gazing at the vastness below him. Suddenly, he heard an unexpected sound. Hearty laughs echoed among the rocks. He peered his head over a boulder and beheld two young children playing by a pond. He watched them, unsure of what to do. Then he heard a thunderous laugh, and a fishing bobber plopped into the pond. Rowan turned towards where the line came from and beheld two short, stout, and stocky men sitting on a raised rock. The other cast his line into the water, and both of them proceeded to light pipes. The two men looked similar, except one was bearded and the other was not. Both of them had long black goatee. Both of them had long black hair. Rowan slid back down the boulder. He resolved to sit right where he was and begin playing his flute. That way it will seem I am on no errand, and they will think they found me by chance, he thought. He played for a few moments, and soon the bearded man leapt over the boulder and landed right in front of him. Who are you, boy, and whither are you going? Just as he spoke, the other man jumped down from the top of the boulder. This is a queer finding indeed, said he. Speak. Why are you here? Rowan tried to conceal his worry. Well met, friends. I am called Bran, and I hail from Kenger, a province north of Quandir. I am journeying to see what mysteries the far north holds, and it would seem I have discovered a great mystery indeed. Are you the fabled and much venerated Geldish? The bearded Geld eyed Rowan suspiciously. Look here, lad. We'll be asking the questions, not the other way around. Kenger is a Norse province, then? You are one of them Norse folk who dwell southwest of here? I am, sir. Has your king sent you here? No, indeed, said Rowan. I am a fisherman's son, and the dealings of the Norse government are of little concern to me. I live a quiet life by the sea with my family. The Geld looked at Rowan with distrust. You mean to tell me that you journeyed to this cold and forsaken land of your own accord? Is it so odd? Rowan responded. The restlessness of the sun still burns in me. It can drive a young man to climb a mountain for no purpose at all, as I'm sure you are aware. There is only one God, lad, said the Geld. You Norse merely personify different aspects of the same force. And regarding your question, yes, journeying 200 miles from your home to the most inhospitable region of Koyo, for naught but a yearning for adventure, is odd. The Geld walked over and grasped Rowan's arm fiercely. Devagnar, he shouted at his companion. Bind his hands. Era, Fundin, the Geld shouted at the two children. We're leaving for Throndor. The Gelds escorted Rowan along the mountain ridge for some time, until finally their path led downwards, and they came out of the clouds. The bearded Geld held one hand up to block the sun, and gazed off to the northeast, where the land once again disappeared into clouds. We're only a mile away, said the bearded Geld. We must keep heading east and enter Throndor through the southern pass, lest we lose our way in this mist. Throndor, Rowan repeated approvingly. Is that where you live? It is, the man responded. And it's more than a small mountain village. My king dwells there within the mountain, which is also my home. You live in the king's fortress, said Rowan. You must be a statesman then, or commander of some kind. Aye, said the man. I command a company of scouts and lead expeditions into the wilderlands. Okay, let's keep walking. I don't want to lose the sun before we arrive. The rocky terrain gave way to flat grass-covered landscape, with patches of soil hardened by the cold mountain air. The mist cleared, revealing the mountain summit not far above them. Soon they came upon a crag that jutted out of the earth, right in the middle of the path. A hammer hung from it, suspended by a leather loop. The Geld slammed the hammer against a round metal inset in the rock. And behold, a door opened inward. They walked into the circular, dimly lit room, with candles along its perimeter. The secret door amazed Rowan, and forgetting his anxiety, he asked, Did you use magic to open that door? The clean-shaved Geld scoffed. Do you not hear the chains, lad? A simple pulley moves it. The Norse boy thinks we can do magic. He's Norse, the bearded man responded. I reckon this entire cavern seems like the work of wizards to him. Go tell King Aogon of our capture, he told the other man, who promptly rushed down the hallway. The bearded man pushed Rowan in front of him as they made their way down a steadily descending corridor lit by candles on either side. They walked along for some time deeper and deeper into the mountain, until finally they entered a huge subterranean opening. It was the citadel of Throndor, the mountain capital of Geldland. There was a large fire burning in the center of the room, and the fire was made of marble, many pieces of marble. There was a large fire burning in the center of the room, and the floor was made of marble. Many pieces of marble placed adjacent to one another formed an enormous sacred geometric symbol on the floor. Rowan studied it intently while being escorted to the throne of Aogon, king of the Geldish. A hole in the ceiling let in a cold light, which shone upon sculptures of ancient Geldish Danes and kings, which lined the perimeter of the citadel. King Aogon was a distant relative of Beru. Both rulers traced their lineage back 900 years to the ancient rulers, Ursus and Silva. Silva gave Ursus two sons, Baga and Sundar. After the death of Ursus, his two sons established their own separate kingdoms and fell into enmity. When the followers of Sundar discovered iron smelting in the year 3005, they destroyed the Eastern Kingdom, established by the followers of Vaga. The people of the Eastern Kingdom, now known as the Geldish, fled from the followers of Sundar, who came to be called the Norse. In those days, only the Norse knew the secret of iron smelting, so many people came under their yoke, and they came to control huge swaths of land, which came to be called the Northern Kingdom. The Geldish retreated to the harsh northern heights, and it was widely believed the bitter climate caused them to die off. Presently, Rowan was standing with bound hands right in front of the Geldish king. King Aogon had deep-set blue eyes and white hair. Like most Gelds, he was short and stocky and very muscular. He wore a hooded robe of pure white, which to Rowan seemed a bit queer. It looked like the raiment of a holy man, not a king. Aogon was in no mood for formal greetings. Who are you, and what is your business in this land? Said he. My name is Bran, Rowan responded. I hail from Kengur, a province of the Northern Kingdom, some 300 miles west of here. I live in a fishing village on the north bank of the Bay of Huandir. I was compelled to explore this region by nothing save a restless heart, and I've walked many miles in an effort to learn about this uncharted land. The king let out a sigh. God willing, this land will remain uncharted by your folk, and the Geldish will continue to be left in peace. Our policy is to kill any outsider who discovers our kingdom, so as to keep our presence here a secret. The king paused, and Rowan's heart sunk. But now, considering the baleful fate of Koyo, I fear our discovery is in any case inevitable. The world is changing. The foretellings of the wise have manifested. A shadow approaches across the sea, even as it was prophesied. The oracles claim this threat will cause the disparate peoples of Koyo to fight as one and forget their petty differences. Aogon walked over to a small table in the corner of the great hall. As he poured himself a drink, he asked, "Did the Norse know of the threat from across the sea? Do you know of a nation called the West Pala Union?" Rowan was astonished. "Yes, Lord. We have already done battle with them on our southwestern border. They will bring great destruction, for they wield some unknown weaponry, an explosive substance of dreadful devastation. They will dominate all of Koil if not confronted. The war has already begun. The Norse, the Mayterans, the Monvars, and the southern tribes have all allied, and together they are called the Continental Defense. And now I ask you, King Aogon, what will be the role of the Geldish in this fight? Will your people join in the defense of Koyo?" Aogon walked to the fire in the center of the hall. He leaned on his staff, gazing into the embers. "I have decided that we will help in any way we can, but my people's hatred of the Norse will make it difficult for our armies to fight together." "Why do your people still hate us so much?" Rowan asked. "Surely after this many centuries their anger would have subsided." The king's eyebrows furrowed as he gazed into the embers. "Our anger remains undiminished. Remember the fall of the Eastern Kingdom in songs and in the stories of our bards. I sit by the fire often and think of how our fathers bled and our women were ravished at the whims of your people. Your ancestors assaulted us from the west, full of pretension and arrogance. They burnt everything, our sanctums, the dwellings of the innocent." Suddenly he fixed his eyes on Rowan. "They pillaged, raped, and murdered. Make no mistake, the Norse have already committed every atrocity the warriors from Pala intend." Aogon's gaze turned back to the embers. "Shanakail our country was called, before your bloodthirsty ancestors drove us out. Geldish martyrs sleep unhonored in the coffinless graves of our forgotten home. Innocents they were, whose only desire was to defend home and hearth. We still dream of our ancient home, where tall trees are abundant, where the warm ocean breeze can be felt, where we do not have to delve underneath the earth to find a habitable dwelling. Your ancestors took what was ours by right, simply because they could. Lonely and sad we roamed, far from our native home, up to this desolate realm we now call home. Now another enemy approaches from the west with an unmatched weapon, and you run to us for aid." The king let out a sigh and turned his gaze towards the fire. "I am left with no choice but to grant it, for this enemy is a pestilence that will sicken every region of our world." "You will help us then?" Rowan spoke with disbelief. "Yes," Aogon responded. "The Geldish will take part in the battle for Koyo." "Thank you," said Rowan. "Your honor is unmatched, and together—" "Make no mistake, lad," the king interrupted. "I will be recompensed. Here are my terms. Once hostilities have ended, your king is to approve the establishment of a large Geldish province within Norse territory. It shall be along the coast, and its size shall be no less than 200 square miles. Moreover, it shall pay no tribute to the northern kingdom, and it shall be utterly self-governing. Also, while the war rages, my generals will exercise authority over Geldish troops. I will not have a Norseman in charge of Geldish soldiers, nor a southerner for that matter. No man save a Geld will lead the Geldish. A messenger hawk bearing these terms will be sent to Baru as soon as may be." Rowan nodded. "As you will, Lord. No one in my small village speaks ill of the Geldish. We think of you and your countrymen as distant kin." The king scoffed. "Ah, yes, I almost forgot about your humble home. Don't lie, son, there's nothing for it. Your home is Burton Close stronghold. Your name is Rowan Atruna, and you are a first cousin of the king. You may not know about our kingdom, but we know much about yours, for we have informants all over your country. Our decision to join the Continental Defense will be based on Baru's response to my terms." Rowan nodded. As you command. If I may ask,